I'm John Grunseich, and the species I'll be covering is Magicicada septendecim, or the 17-year cicada.
I'm Lance Wang, and I'll be covering the Quesada Gigas, otherwise known as the giant cicada.
The topic of this debate is which contributes more to its environment. The Magicicada septendecim, or the 17-year cicada, is native to Canada and the United States and is the largest, most northern species of periodical cicada with a 17-year life cycle. It's not in the same genus as the giant cicada. It is the order Hemiptera, which are the true bugs. It emerges every 17 years, but spends most of its life underground as a nymph. All members of the genus Magicicada remain in groups known as broods. These groups serve as defense mechanisms to overwhelm predators with their huge populations. These huge populations also negatively affect trees. When emerging, they are present in millions and can affect our daily lives by disturbing traffic and by creating like clouds of insects. When emerging, females cut slits and lay eggs in twigs. These twigs may split, wither, and die. This problem is known as flagging, which it doesn't necessarily affect mature trees, but smaller trees it could possibly kill.
Okay, so I had the giant cicada, scientifically known as Quesada gigas, and it's a species of large cicada native to North, Central, and South America. It's most commonly found in Texas, and it's one of two species in the genus Quesada, and it is actually the widest ranging cicada in the Western Hemisphere. So giant cicadas in general are difficult to study as they spend their pre-adult lives underground and their short adult life high up in trees. And behavior-wise, they're gregarious, which means that they're static at low density but mobile at high density. And while looking for a mate, males call 2 or 3 times and then fly to another calling site. And giant cicadas produce a remarkably distinct and loud sound, singing primarily at dusk and less often at dawn in central Texas. It's been known to sing all day and occasionally through the night. Its loud, shrill song has been described as a siren or alarm, a whistle, or gas escaping a pressure release valve. So it's a pretty loud sound that it produces. So giant cicadas are parasites to trees, specifically deciduous trees such as maples, oaks, and ash trees. And while the term parasite has negative connotations, in the grand scheme of things, parasites can actually benefit their hosts by keeping their hosts in check. So they provide trees a service by laying eggs in and eating the weak branches of a tree. And they also do the trees a service by dying, which releases a vast amount of nutrients back into the soil. And these extra nutrients help the trees a lot in terms of growth and seed production. And what makes the giant cicada unique is it's actually the second largest North American cicada. And similar to other Texas species, it's got an appearance that camouflages it into its environment, which means it usually looks like a combination of black, green, and brown patterns. And giant cicadas also distinguish themselves by sound rather than appearance. 2 minutes.
Okay.
So, I don't know why it's not going up. Okay. Alright, so.
Okay. Well, I guess it's time for the rebuttals. My first question for you would be, people who own trees would have to deal with 1-year cicadas harming their trees every year. But with a 17-year cicada, it will only affect someone's trees every 17 years. Why do you see that as more beneficial than the 17-year cicadas?
Well, yeah. So owners of trees that have to deal with the giant cicada do have to deal with them every year. So it's a lot more consistent, but it's not really that much of an issue because the giant cicadas populate areas in a lot smaller numbers. and the effects of their population are actually more beneficial than harmful because they supply the trees with nutrients and help get rid of dead branches. So yeah, like the farmers would have to deal with them, but it's not really that much of an issue to begin with. Unlike the 17-year cicada, where it's all concentrated at once every 17 years. And so my rebuttal for you is, even though the 17-year cicadas only emerge as a problem every 17 years, what if every single time they emerged, it was too big of an issue to combat, and it caused just like way over significant damage?
Well, that's a good question, and you're very right. The cicadas do pose a significant threat. They can be quite damaging towards younger trees, but protective nets can be used to prevent this damage to trees in an urban environment. This doesn't include trees in the wilderness, but natural thinning from these cicadas would occur, and that can't be helped. But it's been happening for millions of years that way. And these insects are native to the United States and Canada, so they're not really in any environment that would pose a very significant threat. My rebuttal to you say that the giant cicada provides nutrients to the trees, but how would that be a significant amount of nutrients compared to the amount 17-year cicadas provide every 17 years when they all emerge?
So yeah, whenever the 17-year cicada emerges, it's going to be a lot more nutrients just because they've been building up for 17 years. But the fact that the giant cicadas consistently provide nutrients every year that they emerge, like the giant cicada populations are obviously going to be a lot lower than the tremendous amounts that the 17-year cicadas provide. But the fact that it's consistent and the populations don't overwhelmingly feed on the trees and they don't like eat out all the resources means that the benefits of the giant cicada far outweigh those of a sudden bulk of nutrients that the 17-year cicada would provide.
Okay.
So
now it's the closing.
Move on to the closing
statements.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go ahead.
Okay. I think that the 17-year cicada contributes the most to its environment. It may be destructive every 17 years, but its nutrients impact and the amount of food it provides to its predators will outweigh the negative effects. It also gives 17 years for the trees to recover and prosper. When it emerges, it also acts as a natural thinning mechanism for forests by thinning number of young saplings. Overall, based on this information, that is why I believe the 17-year cicada contributes more to its environment than the 1-year cicada.
Okay. So for my closing statement, the giant cicada, also known as Quesada gigas, is a relatively important contributor to its environment because it helps provide crucial nutrients for trees, as well as helping the trees get rid of their dead branches. And it is true that a small percentage of weak younger trees will die during each annual cicada emergence, but the fertilizing that cicadas provide will actually benefit the older trees in such a way that encourages them to produce more seeds the following year. And so the more seeds that they produce makes up for the small amount of like weak younger trees that are killed during each annual production of cicadas. And so because of this, the benefits that giant cicadas provide to their environments far outweigh the costs. And because of that, I believe that the giant cicadas are actually more beneficial to the environment than 17-year cicadas.
Okay. Well, thanks.
That concludes our video. Hope you enjoyed it.